Welcome to Topic 6, Lesson 1, Multiplying Decimals by 10, 100, and 1000. So today we are going to talk about what is the pattern we can use to multiply decimals by 10, 100, and 1000. So just like we've looked at patterns for multiplying whole numbers by 10, 100, and 1000, we're going to look at multiplying decimals by 10, 100, and 1000. And it's really the same pattern. It all involves moving a decimal place around, which is really what you're doing when you're multiplying whole numbers. It's just that the decimal is sort of like at the end of the number and you don't really think about really moving a decimal. So to background, we're going to look at we're just going to look at a little bit of just multiplying whole numbers. So remember, so like 2 times 1 is obviously is 2. 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 100 is 200. And 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. So I think we all kind of just memorize this as, okay, I've got 2 times 10, I've got 1 0 here, so I'm adding 1 0 here. 2 times 100, I've got 2 zeros here, I'm adding 2 zeros here. 2 times 1,000, I got 3 zeros here, I'm at, 3 zeros here. So, but really what you're doing is, it's not so much that you're adding zeros as you're moving a decimal place over, right? Because there's a decimal place here. And to make it 20, you took it and you moved it over, and then you added a 0 in. To make it 20 into 200, there was a decimal place here, right? You moved it over 1, you added a 0, and you made it to 200. 200 to into 2,000, you took the 0 and you moved it over 1, and you into 2,000. That's because remember, whenever you move this decimal place either direction, you're either multiplying by 10 or you're dividing by 10, because there's a multiplicate there's that factor of 10 between each digit in our number because we work in base 10. So that's why that works. So when you're moving this way, you're multiplying. When you're moving that way, you're dividing because you're making your number smaller, right? You're making your number bigger when you go that way. Okay. With me so far, I hope? So, and then the other little background I just want to make sure we understand is the 10 to the first power is 10. 10 squared is like 10 times 10 is 100. And right, this is 10 times 10. You just got to trust me on the 10 to the first power. And 10 times 3 is 1,000, and so forth. So just remember that that's how we do exponents. That 10 to the third power is the same as 10 times 10 times 10, which would be the same as 1,000. 10, which would be 10 cubed, right? 10 squared, 10 to the second power, it's 10, the same as 10 times 10, which is 100. That comes up a little bit later. I don't know why, but they like to express this. Instead of saying 10, 100, or 1,000, they like to say 10 to the first power, 10 squared, and 10 cubed. Okay, so 2 tenths times 1, I think we should all be able to realize, is 2 tenths, right? Don't get 2 tenths. Really, it'll be okay. So in this case, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move the decimal place over 1 because we're multiplying it by 10. Remember, there's a factor of 10 between each digit in a number. So since we're moving it over, since we got 110 here, there's 110. We're going to move that decimal place over 1 place. So it's going to become 2. 2 tenths. We've got now we have 10 tenths. So we're going to move that over 2 places. And now it's going to become 20. 3. Now we got 3 of these, right? So we're going to move it over 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Now it's going to become 200. So all you're doing is you're moving that decimal point around based upon how many tens you have. We have 1 here, we have 100 here, we have 1,000 here. So we have 1, so moving over 1 place. 2, moving over 2 places. 3, we're moving over 3 places. That's the rule for multiplying decimals. Well, since we're multiplying by a whole number, a whole 10, it's going to get bigger. So that decimal place has got to go in that direction. And it goes 1 place for every 10 because it's 10 times in between each decimal place. If we were dividing by 10, we would go in the opposite direction. So we'll get to that probably in topic. What is this, topic 6? In topic 7, I think we get into it. We'll talk a little bit about that. But for now, it's just we'll multiplying decimals. Okay, so here's some more examples. So if we were doing 9 thousandths times 10, we got 110. There's 10 times between each of these decimal places. We want to make the number bigger, so we're going to move this decimal place over 1 place. And so it would become 9 hundredths. Obviously, I'm not going to worry. You only need to have 1 leading 0. So we can get rid of some of those leading zeros. Again, now we have 2 of these. We're going 2 places. So we're going to move over 1, 2. This will become 6 and 2/10. Okay. Now the book likes to express this not just in terms of 10 or 100. They like to use the exponent form of the 10. So this is going to be the same. You can translate this to 7 and 4/10 times 10. So, and again, it's times 10. So we're going to move it over 1 place. This would equal 74. This we can translate into 1 in 2400s times 1,000, because 10 cubed is the same as 1,000. So moving it over 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 4, 0, 1,240. And I actually think it's sometimes it's kind of helpful to actually make this little we got the 2400s. We're going to bring it over 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3. You're going to put the 0 there. If that helps. Each one of these little dips here is a place. Is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is the same as 1,000. Okay, I want you to try it. There are 2 for you to try. Okay, how do we do? So in this case, we're multiplying our 45 10,000ths times 100. So we're moving over how many places? 2 places. 1, 2. So this would become 45 hundredths. This is going to be, we're going to translate this to 6 and 5/10 times 100. So moving over 2 tens, this would become 650, right? 6 and 5/10. We're going to move it over. Let me get rid of this little box. That's kind of, come on. There we go. So it was 6 and 5/10. We're going to move it over 2 places. 1, 2. Going to put a 0 in there as a placeholder. It becomes 650. So that's how you multiply decimals by 10, 100, and 1,000. Thank you for listening.